The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, I see we are rapidly gaining attendees here. Welcome, welcome to the SC Lens cataloging overview demo for the new web client. Right now, all of you guys who are attending are on mute, but you do have the ability to ask questions and use chat. This is Meg Straub. I think you've heard from me a time or two. I also have with me from the State Library Amanda Stone, who is Manager of Technical Services here. You may have met her at the Tech Services Exchange or maybe SCLA. What she's going to do is help me field questions during this webinar. So if somebody interrupts who's not me, that's who you're hearing.
Hi, everyone. This is Amanda.
So that's the voice you're going to be hearing. So we will be monitoring your questions. We're just keeping it muted so that we don't have too many voices competing at once. We did have a lot of people sign up for this webinar, which is terrific. I'm so glad to see this. And I hope you will find it worthwhile. So we've got about 1 more minute, and we will give it about that 1 more minute to let people come in. I am going to be quiet for a moment while people assemble. All right, we are at 10 o'clock, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to let you know right now this webinar will be available as a recording for anyone who is not able to make it today. So you and any absentees will hear about that when we are ready to let it go. If there's anything I don't cover during the webinar, save your questions. If I don't know the answer, I'm going to tell you I don't know the answer, and I will get back to you with something concrete because I don't want to mislead you. And just a reminder before we start, this web client is in some ways very different looking, very different feeling. But just a reminder that we were all new to Evergreen at some point. None of us were born knowing Evergreen. If you were, give me a call. I'd like to talk to you. So, you know, just try to help that cut down the fear factor. We're going to be all right. We're really going to be all right. So right now you should be seeing the login screen, sign-in screen for Evergreen. You'll see 3 fields that say username, password, and workstation. What I'm doing right now is assuming that you already have your workstation registered. And that may be something you do, it may be something a sysadmin does. I know you all have different levels of sysadmin support within your consortium. I'm not going to talk specifically about registering a workstation today, but if you have questions about this, get in touch with me and I will help you out or direct you to the people who can. So to sign into Evergreen, here on my homepage, I'm going to type in my normal username and my password. And then I will go to the sign in button. And here we go. Now the first thing that looks immediately very different is that there's a lot less on the screen than what we're used to seeing and in what I'm going to call the old Evergreen. So we had a lot more in these menus on the front page, so to speak, before. And what's really happened is none of it has gone away, but it's moved to this toolbar up here. So before, when we had a long list of things and item search and cataloging, if you just kind of think of what was here before as having relocated to cataloging in the toolbar, I think that will help it make it seem more familiar, because from here we can search the catalog. We can see our buckets. We can retrieve a record by TCN if somebody sends a TCN around the listserv and says, hey, we need to move some items. This might be where we go. We can create our new MARC record here. We can import our records from Z3950. Do your MARC batch import export. So what you're used to doing is just kind of shifted toward the top of the screen. So let's dive right in and search the catalog. You have an item in hand that you are ready to add to SC Lens. And the item I'm going to use as an example is a novel called Say Nothing of the Dog. Normally I might search by ISBN here, but I'm just going to use the title this time. So I put the title in the title field. I search, and please note that I've got my search library scoped, meaning it looks at all of SC Lens. I had to change this default when I went over to the web client. You might want to search just your own system. So AHJ might choose to search only AHJ. When you're adding an item, though, I encourage you to look at all of SC Lens first to make sure we're not adding duplicate items. So let's search here. And the book I am looking for is this third one, the Connie Willis novel. And here we see a new feature in Evergreen that I like, but it is optional. Your search terms are highlighted. So if you ever search for an item and you think, how did I get that result? You can look in the title here or in the MARC record itself and see where it pulled that information from. So if you are searching for a book called The Elementals and you get lots of weird results, you can't figure out where they came from, you can go into each individual record and see where the word elemental is popping up. If you'd like to disable highlighting, though, you follow my mouse up to the top right here. Disable highlighting is an option. So I'm going to go into my item here. And once again, this part should look fairly familiar until we start looking for the menus we are used to seeing. We're used to seeing up in the upper hand corner a very, very long list of actions. And once again, those have relocated. And once again, it's along the top here. If you think of it one way, a lot of what's happened in the new Evergreen is what was once a vertical menu is now a horizontal menu. The same things you are used to seeing are still here, but they've kind of flipped. So if you're used to going to other actions and taking a look at the MARC record, let's go to MARC View, and here we see MARC record. Or we might want to go to MARC Edit, which we're going to look at in a minute. And here we see the MARC Editor, which does look quite different visually than what we're used to seeing. You can also look at Holdings View. Right now I'm looking just at State Library Holdings, but again, I can change that to SC Lens. And give it a second, okay, and then I can see all the holdings. Word on Holdings View. Holdings View is what we used to call holding maintenance. It's the same thing, new name, but it does look pretty different. We can see that things are kind of stacked differently, and this might take some getting used to, but I'm going to be picking on you guys who are alphabetically first. We can see that Anderson, which is the owning library here, the ACO goes with this owning library, has a call number of SF Willis Connie for this novel. It's located in adult sci-fi fantasy. They're not using copy numbers, which is perfectly fine, system by system. There we have the barcode, and its status is available. Alerts, we don't have any, 0. You kind of have to imagine that these lines are going straight down this way, like my mouse is tracing, to make it more evident what belongs with what. So I'm going back over to Mark Edit. And if first we want to do a quick item add, that is checking this box at the very top and just quickly typing in a call number and quickly typing in a barcode. And that is just the fast item add, if that's something you need to use. Up here we have Flat Text Editor. I don't know how many of you used that. It really hasn't changed. It's a little bit cleaner looking. That's what that looks like. You can stack subfields if that's the way you prefer to look at the record. And I haven't heard any questions yet, so I assume you're learning everything perfectly. 100 straight across the board right now.
No questions yet.
Okay, we're going to call that a good quiet. Okay, right up here in the fixed fields, we have, as we did before, a lot of built-in help in Evergreen. I know some of you are just new to Evergreen overall, and you might not know about this, so I'm going to take a second to talk about it. As a refresher, it's good for anyone. Okay, this box is for any illustrations or photographs that might be in the book. If you right-click in this context menu, it's going to give you the options of what information can go in that box in the fixed fields. So it's a little bit of help for you as a cataloger if this book has coats of arms in it and you cannot remember what the letter for coats of arms is. You can add it here and it will just go ahead and pop an eye in there. If you wanted to, let's see, look at the fiction box, you can see that fiction not further specified. Not fiction as a 0. Again, it's just a little help for you as a cataloger. Now, if I right-click in date 2, you see I just get kind of a regular right-click menu. That's because there's no data to auto-populate the date 2. It wouldn't have the year 0 BC through the year 2018. That's something it can't draw any information for. But most of these other boxes, the ones you're going to think of as cataloging, really cataloging specific, like audience, it's an adult audience, those are going to have information supplied in them. And you can cross-reference that with many of your RDA tools to check your data if you like. So I've already made a couple changes in the record up here. I'm also going to warn you that I do not have the same keyboard shortcuts that you do because I'm working on a Mac. So normally I would sign off in 049. I'm going to do that in Flat Text Editor. So I'm practicing what I preach. Okay, and that's because I made a change in the record. And right here, these blue buttons, those they're calling the chain icon. And I think if you think of it as looking like a chain on a swing set, that would be a good way to remember it. Now that we have authorities in our system, you can click on these blue buttons. It's not going to work here on the test server, so just play along with me. to validate a name. Normally, what you would have here is not this, but an option to validate the author name, Connie Willis. And you would be able to carry through and validate that. Another reminder that you can scroll up to the top of the screen and click Validate. Anything in red needs to be checked. And the reason it's coming up in red on this particular record, once again, is because our authority data is not completely loaded on the test server. And that is another thing I should mention, is that the data you are seeing on the test server is an older copy of our data. So if you're seeing really, really weird things pop up and things that just don't look right, remember that this is just an older copy. It is not what we are going to see when we go live. That's going to be whatever we're working with right now. So all your hard work merging records will certainly be reflected when we go live.
Meg, there was a quick question.
Yeah. Sure.
One question, and y'all, I am not a cataloger. I just play one on TV. So I may get these questions wrong. But they asked, is the subtitle B? And so I'm wondering if that means, is it the subfield B? So I'm not sure.
Yes. I think the person, I don't see the question, but you're perhaps asking if the subtitle should be in a subfield B in the in the 245. Was that the question?
I think so.
Okay. Yes, you could put that in. I do not have this item directly in front of me, but my recollection is that that probably would actually be a subtitle B.
Okay.
I do not have this book with me, though.
Okay, thanks.
Does that clear that up?
Like I said, or did it just show up on the mark?
Oh, you're concerned about the subfield B not showing up in the OPAC view?
Maybe.
Okay. It should show up in the OPAC view. If our subfield Bs at 245 are not showing up, then we do have a problem. Let me just...
Yes, she says. That is the question.
Okay.
Thank you, y'all.
Oops. Okay. That was not the pretty cataloging way to add this. Pretend I didn't do it like that. I'm just doing this for the sake of quickness. I'm going to save the record, go back to the OPAC view, and interesting thing here, you can reload the page using the refresh button in Chrome, just like you would for any other web page you might be looking at. And so here we go. Mark view, we have the subfield B showing up, and I put that kind of fake subfield B in here between or and how, and it looks like the full title is showing up. Does that answer the question?
I think so.
Okay.
She says yes.
Great, thank you. And if you have an example of, anyone has an example of where that did not work, feel free to send me the TCN, a screenshot, anything like that, and we will definitely take a look at it. And I think the original creator of this record also added a 246 for, in case somebody searched for this part of the title. You could also add a 246, as this person did, for how he found the Bishopsburg Stump at Last, just to make sure you're covering all your bases. Okay. So here we have the do recall number is an 082. And I would ask, if you do put local call number information in, you put it in field 092. Please don't overwrite the 082 Dewey call number. But if you do put local call number information in, put it in 092, which is a local call number field. That's something we need to talk about more as a group. But what I'm asking right now is just please don't overwrite that 082. Leave that intact. All right, so say you're cataloging Maybe you're new to cataloging, maybe it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon and you're ready to go home, and you can't remember what that 490 field is. Once again, you can right-click, scroll down through all these different options, and you see that 490 is a series statement. So again, this is Evergreen helping you out, saying, by the way, if you can't remember what this field is, we've got it right here. And just for fun, let's add a 007 to this record, which is what we would do if it was a media item, like a DVD or CD. Here again, we can right-click and add 007. And then we wait. Well, it wouldn't be a technology demonstration if something funny didn't happen. There we go. Okay, some of you may or may not be familiar with this really cool feature for 007, which is called the Physical Characteristics Wizard. What it helps you do is it really gives you a helping hand in what can be a pretty confusing field by giving you prompts to fill it out. So to do that, you will click on this chain once again, and here we have a Physical Characteristics Wizard. And this is just a walkthrough of what kind of material it is. So we are going to just make this a DVD for a moment. So in category of material, it gives us every option we can use here. And you notice it doesn't ask you to have memorized the specific codes. It just says, what is this? So it's a video recording, and the V in red that you're working in shows up there. Next, what kind of material is it? The specific material designator. And that just kind of means what is the physical object itself? Is it a video cassette, a VHS? Is it a video disc, a DVD? That's really what that's asking there. So we're going to make that a D. And for those of you who might be wondering and typing a question right now, we still don't have a way other than duplicating the 007 to make an item both a Blu-ray and a DVD. There's just not a mark code for that yet. A letter that symbolizes this is both. So you'll just continue to keep putting 2 007s in if it's one of those combo packs. Okay, next, once again, what color is it? This one is just going to be multicolored, which is pretty common. Video recording format. Let's make it a DVD. And sound on medium or separate. It is with this imaginary DVD, so we'll click that. And again, you see the one I'm working on is up here in red. Next, once again, the medium for the sound. And let's go with video disc. Go to next. Now say I second guessed myself for that where the sound on medium is. You can go to previous and second guess yourself, or go to previous and second guess the one before that. So you're not locking yourself into anything here. Dimensions. And I am just clicking all of these to show you that we have a lot of different options. And if you're ever not sure of any of these, you can always check the bibliographic formats and standards to be certain. It's typically going to be this Q, this multi-channel. And then we save. And we've got that 007 in there. So all that physical characteristics work helps us get this kind of obscure code in there. Now, if I do want to remove this extra 007 I put in here, I do not have a working keyboard shortcut for that, but here's something else that's very handy in the new Evergreen. Before, the help commands, the shortcuts, were a drop-down menu, and if you're like me, you have them taped to your monitor. Well, tape them to your monitor no more, because if you want to see them all the time, you click Help here, and they just appear right above whatever you're working on. So you would see that to remove a row, you do Control-Delete, and you can leave that up there absolutely all the time. Always have those shortcuts in front of you, which I think is a really handy thing. So let's save this pretend record. And now I want to add a copy to our system. So I'm going to head over to Holdings View, formerly Holdings Maintenance. Right now I'm looking at all of SC Lens, but I am going to go to my specific library to do that. And many of you will be working with more branches than I am. We only have one branch here at the State Library. So I am going to go to Add Copies. And right here you see a new window popped open. This is where you're going to want to be absolutely sure that you are allowing pop-ups in Chrome overall or adding Evergreen specific pop-ups. And I do have a handout I'll get around to you guys that shows you how to allow those pop-ups. And that may, again, be something you need to talk to your sysadmin about, or it may be something you can do yourself. But if you don't have pop-ups allowed, you will just simply not be able to do a lot of things in Evergreen, and it will look like a lot of things aren't working.
We had a question about being able to add defaults to our local system to add items.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, are we going to be able to set our default so that our default library is our own?
Yes, yes, you will. Let's see. I will just move away from this very quickly to show that for you. Okay. Actually, this is a good time we could show something else. If you need, we're all used to tabs in Evergreen, right? Lots and lots of tabs. It's a great thing. And we don't have that anymore in the way we're used to. If you want to open a new tab, though, say to change your defaults, you can right-click on the tab you have open. I usually just go to Duplicate tab to open it directly in Evergreen, but you can bookmark any page within Evergreen to open it up there. So what I'm going to do here is go to Administration, Workstation, and this is going to be your workstation defaults. And let's look at our default search library, preferred library. If I wanted to, I think this is what we were being asked about, the preferred library to show copies. If I wanted to change that to be my library specifically, I would just scroll down and change it to SCSL. So I've got my default search library set as all of SC Lens, which I kind of do, again, recommend, especially when you're adding items to avoid duplicates. And I have my preferred library for showing copies. Regardless of the library searched, I have that to be just the state library. Here's something that's going to feel a little bit weird. You'll notice there's no save button on the screen, which to me feels a little strange. I like to click save and know that it is all taken care of. But if you just close it out, it's going to remember your preferences.
Is that something that each person can do themselves, or does IT have to do that?
You should be able to do it yourselves. I think everybody can do that themselves. If you can't, sometimes I get the permissions mixed up. If you can't, let me know. But I will say it's something everybody can do for their individual workstation. So if Jill in Florence wants to show all her, do things one way, she can do it her way. And if Joe in Florence wants to do it a completely different way, they just set up their workstations differently.
Okay.
It does not have to be the same across your library. Okay, so here we are, we're back to adding a copy of this book. And my owning library is the state library. I'm going to double check that. Yep, there we go. I'm adding only one volume. I'm going to change the call number. And I'm just going to scan in my barcode. One nice thing about Evergreen web version here is if you try to reuse a barcode, I'm just going to go with 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, the test server is moving a little bit slow. It will normally tell you this barcode is already in use. There we go, duplicate barcode. So you will know you're not accidentally duplicating a barcode. That's just a little bit of a fail-safe measure, which is really nice. So put my real barcode back in there. I'm not going to do any copy or part numbers. So, and again, this is working with just one copy right now, and many of you will be working with more than one at once. So I want to apply my general book template. And that changed several things. You see the shelving location changed. Go ahead and set the search modifier to book. And if I want to go ahead and fill in the price, I can do that here. Let's see, we want to go ahead and put it on 6-month age-based hold protection. And fine level will be normal. All right, and my status is in process. So again, after we apply this, we have some options here. We can store selected, which will move it to completed copies, which can be really helpful if you're working on multiple items at once. In this case, I only added the one item, so I'm just going to save and exit, which closed out that window entirely. However, we can also look at it the other way. So I am going to add some more copies.
We had 2 more questions about kind of administration side. If we log into a different computer, will the defaults for our login transfer, or is it by computer?
The defaults will be stored in the browser. So I'm not 100% sure on that one. Do we have a sysadmin in the room who can maybe know the answer to that one?
Yeah, if anyone knows, you can just chat it in the chat box. Yep. And the other questions is, will the templates locally transfer to the new system?
That is a $1 million question. We hope so. We hope so. This came up before, if you remember when we had a training from Equinox. And I got in touch with Equinox right after that training webinar and said, we're pretty worried about our templates transferring correctly. And they said, let's get back to you. So they did some great research, really appreciate it from them, and came back with the answer, they should transfer. So we really appreciate them for looking into that for us. Now, Some talk I have seen around, though, says that not all templates came through the portal perfectly, so to speak. So, for instance, let's scroll down here. Something might happen like your template came through perfectly, except the shelving location is unknown as stats only. And that has to be changed. So they should come through correctly, but especially starting out, you're really going to want to double check. When in doubt, I would just completely recreate a template, because sometimes these templates are drawing on old information that's no longer where the system thinks it should be. But honestly, my answer to that one is fingers crossed. I'm not going to ask if that was the answer you wanted to hear.
I think it's a honest answer.
It is an honest answer. And if the day we go live, you guys are just everybody saying, all my templates are gone, all my templates are gone, they're messed up, put it on the listserv and we will get that to ESI and say, look, something is going on here. Our catalogers need their templates to do their work. And we'll see if we can, put some sticky tape on that and get it to work, because we don't want to throw you out into the deep end and see if you can swim. That's not the objective here. So I hope that feels somewhat good.
Susan said hers transferred great, so that's a good sign.
Yes, I know that Susan and the sysadmin, that's Susan Manilli and Anderson, and the sysadmin, Lynn Floyd, did some work with the templates, testing them out, and I think they had good thumbs up results to report. She can correct me if I'm wrong there. And we also appreciate Lynn's help in testing that. Okay, so let's say I want to add more than one copy of this book. I'm going to add 2 volumes to this library, and they are going to be different. One is going to be a fiction, and one's going to be a reference copy. So I will put my barcodes in. And now you see I have 2 working copies going on here. And as you can probably guess, the templates will be different for these 2, since one is a circulating copy and one is a reference copy. So I am going to unselect the reference copy for this moment. Whatever you're working on will always be checked. So you can check this top box and work on everything at once. If everything is identical and it's 3 copies of the same brand new book, you can use the template and do all 3 at once. If you have different copies that are maybe going to a different circulation library, going to a different shelving location, then you can check only the one you want to work on at that specific time. So for my circulating copy, I'm going to go to my general book template and apply it. And right here you see the circulation modifier doesn't have a green background like, say, shelving location does. And that is a visual clue that I haven't set the circ mod. So I'm going to change it to a book. And when I do, you'll see the green background pops up then. So that's just another visual flag they've put into the web client to let you know what you have and haven't done. And I will leave it in that location. Put the price in. And I am going to store the selected one. Say, okay, I'm done working on this one. I'm going to put it to the side, like putting it to the side on your desk. And the one I haven't worked on yet stays there. This is my reference copy. So I don't have a specific reference template created yet. Just apply that. And I'll make the changes I need here in the template. SC reference, change it there. Change this. Put the price in. And let's see, this is a special copy of this book. It was donated by a very important donor. So what we have down here, copy notes, copy alerts, copy tags. I'm going to choose a copy note, and let's see. No, I'm going to think about this. Yes, I want to use a copy tag and do a digital book plate. These are searchable in the OPAC, so when your big donor, Mr. Smith, comes in and says, I want to see every book I have ever donated, I want you to pull up that list for me. You're going to be able to search the OPAC and say, well, here they all are. And we all know that donors like to see that kind of thing. So if your library board donates a lot of books, you could find them here. I'm going to put this note. I have already typed it. I donated by Sir Keith one, so we're just going to use that. That's Keith Richards for those of you in the audience. Okay. And I also want to add a copy alert in case anybody tries to check out. If you want to add a copy alert, we have these defaults now, which is something a little bit different. And you might do a normal check-in. It's just a lot of options there, and that is something new. Copy notes, I want to put a copy note in that says non-circ. And we can make this a public note that will show up on the screen for the public to see, or it can just be internal so the staff only sees it. This was going to be staff only. And it does want me to initial it for the sake of accountability, which can be nice when you've had a lot of catalogers touching things over the year and you want to come back and say, wait, why? Remind me why we couldn't circulate this item. It's a nice thing to have. So once again, we're going to store the selected. And now we're going to go up to completed copies. And this gives you a chance to proofread your work and say, okay, I've got this one is definitely just in the regular collection. And this one, oops, it's in the stacks. And I think, I did not mean to do that. I meant to put it in reference. So I can click that, go to Edit Selected, back over to Working Copies because I've decided to work on it again. And I am going to change the shelving location right here. And now I'm going to, once again, store selected, back to completed copies, and now we see my shelving location change is correct this time. I see that I also still have circulate as yes, but let's just pretend I did all this correctly. Now we can click both, save, save completed, or save and exit. Save completed will leave you on the same screen if you want to keep working on copies. Save and exit is going to close this tab and take us back to the record summary. And you see that we have this record summary sticking around up here as we are also used to. Go back to the OPAC view. And let's look for the state library copies. And we now have, I had added one previously, but these are the two copies I just added. And they are here, these two. So they pop up immediately in our list of new items. And we see they're in process, ready to go. Okay, and I will add the DVD is showing up there because I added that 007 when we were experimenting. For right now, are there any further questions that are specifically about the MARC record or adding volumes and copies? I will give you a second to type. And Amanda can let me know when things pop up.
Meg, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I think I was accidentally on mute. Um, so we have a couple questions, and I think they're about actually creating the items.
Sure.
So one of them is just a clarification. So you enter the barcode for all the items and the specific locations, and then you go back and apply the template. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I think we went through that. That was sort of before you did all the steps. And then are copy tags considered local information? Is the word tag the same as a tag in the mark? So I'm not sure.
The word tag is not the same as the word tag in a mark. That's a good question, because that actually is, from a cataloging perspective, that's confusing.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of confusing. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Can we get back into one?
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
If we want to, we can just double click on any one of our copies, and it reopens that other window that's the volume copy editor. Okay, copy tags.
What other kind of types? Yeah.
Sure. Right now, we just have this digital bookplate. What we can do, what your sysadmin may be able to help you do, is set a default tag type that might be, say, donated by the Elks Club, and you would drop down and choose the donated by the Elks Club one. And that'll keep you from having to retype it every time.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Where does that info show up?
It will show up in the OPAC. Before I will show you, before I do, is there anything else
On
the copy tags?
Yeah, not on the tags. No.
Okay.
It says we still have local tags that we can add on in the 690 mark, right?
Correct. A lot of you are using 690 for something collection based. That's not really something we've talked about as a group, maybe standardizing it. But yes, if you are continuing to use the 690 to, say, kit collection, you do still have that. I think when we used to have at the state library, that somebody's drawn my attention to before, was a special culinary collection. So that might come up in 690.
Right, and that's so that you can keyword that and you can have the collection show up.
And once again, that's if, going back to our culinary collection, the people who donated that come in and say, we want to make sure that you have not weeded all our culinary books. Show us those books in the catalog. We can do that. Or if somebody comes into your library and says, hey, I'm thinking about using kits from your library. Can you just show me an overview of what you have available? They could do it that way.
Don't forget, always put yes, we can weed as part of your donation policy. Just FYI.
that was Amanda's comment. I second that wholeheartedly, putting it in your policy that you do not have to keep things forever.
Because I can just see that happening. Let's see.
Yes, that's a whole nother seminar.
Which we can have if y'all want. Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading through the questions. Sure. Y'all have had really good ones. Can you do one of? Oh, hold on. I apologize, y'all. Does store collected change the template or just the data for a particular item? So I'm not sure exactly where that is. So store collected. So there's store selected.
Store selected is when you are finished working on that copy.
Okay.
And you've got everything exactly like you want it, and you want to put it to the side. When I went back and edited one of my store copies, it was because I had made a mistake. So I kind of proofread my own work there, and I called my mistake about the shelving location, and I changed it.
And I think the answer is, and she corrected and said she meant store selected. I think it does. It just changes the data for that particular item. I think the template info is still in there as is.
Yes. Yes, it's literally like you're putting the book aside on your desk. You're not changing anything in the system. You're only changing things that relate to that one specific item.
Great.
Whatever you're working on.
Okay, I think we answered everything. If you still have questions, put in a repeat of the question, and I'll make sure Meg gets it.
Yes, a repeat or a you made no sense. Do that again. You can tell me if I'm not making sense. I'm fine with that. It's early in the morning. Okay. So that is.
Oh, one more question. Sorry.
Sure.
If you're adding an empty volume, how does that work when the barcode is coming later?
Okay. Yes. Let's go back. Okay, I am going to add a volume. Let me see if I can get this to work, because for a while this didn't work in Evergreen. I don't know if they really got that straightened out or not.
And what we can do is we can certainly play with it now or play with it later, and we'll put it on the listserv.
I'm going to play with this later because I don't want to go through a bunch of steps that are wrong and therefore confusing.
Yeah.
Watch me lead down the garden path. Let me get back to that one.
Perfect.
And as I said, somebody emailed me early on and said, I can't get the empty volume creation to work. And at that time, I looked it up and it was a known bug. I will see if that has been corrected yet.
Okay, and that sounds great. And can you actually do one of the copy tags and let us see it in the OPAC?
Yes. And it's the copy tag you want to see?
Yes.
And you want to see the OPAC. I believe we added one. So I am going to go back to the item. And okay, it is not showing up. Oh, things can be entertaining sometimes, can't they?
Well, we're live. That happens.
We are live, and it just wants to embarrass me.
Why don't you do it again? I'm not sure you actually did do it.
Okay. Let's edit. Sometimes when I stop and answer the question, I forget to save things. Okay. All right, one thing that's going on here is that these are going to be predefined in the system. I have not predefined any in my system yet, so I think that's what's going on there.
So there's a back end, okay.
The back end, but if I want to continue to do notes the way I have been doing them, and have them show up in the OPAC, let's make a new copy note. I've got public checked here. And I'm just going to quickly save and exit because that was a quick change. Refresh the screen.
There we go.
We have this is the non-back-end way of adding them.
And it looks a lot like an item note has in the past.
It does. It does.
So, question about barcode. When there are barcodes in place for an encyclopedia or multiple volumes, is that easy to do? Are there times when you would only have one barcode for a multiple set?
So we're saying we might want to make one barcode for World Book Encyclopedia, but not put a barcode on each individual?
Okay, she said that there would be individual barcodes per volume.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Thank you.
You would want one. Yes, that will be easy to do. Let's just look up. World Book Encyclopedia.
Perfect.
And I'm obviously not targeting anybody's specific collections here. This was the #1 search result, and that's why I'm going with it. And congratulations, it's Gaffney. It's kind of like a lottery. So if we wanted to go to Holdings View, I am at State Library, so I'm going to go to Cherokee. There are too many counties that begin with C. Okay. Trying to see how this is done in this record. If you wanted to add copies, a quick reminder that what happens on the test server stays on the test server. If it looks like I'm screwing up all your records, that data will not be copied over to our live production server. You can do whatever you want to do on the test server, and it's not going to affect our real data. So go crazy. And say I want to add 26 volumes of it. Then I can fill in those call numbers and then just scan my barcodes in here. You know, so maybe this is and then just scan my barcodes down that way. And then I would save all of these, apply the same template, and then just save and exit, and it's all done. I'm just going to put in fake barcodes, so it will let me do this. Ignore my typing here, I just let it fill out. Okay, so let's pretend that was the complete set. I would apply my template, see all of them are checked. I would apply the template to all of them. Apply, and I didn't go through and make all the necessary changes there. Then I just save and exit. And when I go back to the OPAC view, we will have added all those copies I just put in. Really just very, very quickly. Does that answer the person's question?
Yeah, I think they just feel better that it looks the same.
It
or
does.
fairly similar. And then there's a comment which I absolutely agree that we've been so used to it being a standalone product, we forget that the web browser, the same stuff we use all the time, like refresh, is going to work.
Yes.
I think this is going to be a little bit of a sea change.
That's a great point. Thank you whoever said that. And remember, you know, as I was showing you earlier, you can open a new tab up here. If I wanted to say go to cataloging and search the catalog, I can bookmark this within Evergreen and say Evergreen bookmark that. And then when I go over here, I have Evergreen search bookmarked, and it will take me directly to that. So you can bookmark anything you use really frequently. I think I would probably bookmark the search just to always have it right at hand. And again, somebody mentioned the refresh button. Yes, absolutely.
So two more things.
Mm-hmm.
If you apply it says if you apply to a template, does it save new information, and how do we update templates?
Okay. I don't know how different people do their templates. Some of you may have your sysadmins making them, and some of them may be creating yourself. You can create new templates. If your sysadmin is doing it, you can find it up here in administration. If you're doing it, let's see. I'm going to search here. Same book.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it's just, oh, I made a mistake in a template, or it's different.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. We would add a copy or go to holdings view. And then we've got copy templates right here. And if I want to edit or create a copy template here, let's say I wanted to edit my general book template and get my circ modifier in there. Just some really quick changes here. And save it. Then if you look down the lower right-hand corner of the screen box, Save Volume Copy Templates, I did make those changes.
Okay. Is that permission by system, whether IT does it or a single person?
It is probably by system.
Okay.
Check with your sysadmin.
And then any word on how the printer options will work, such as the Dymo setup?
Okay, I know we've had some counties that have done a lot of work with testing the printer. We print differently at this particular library. So I am not the best person qualified to ask that question.
Should we, maybe someone can ask it on the listserv, and then we can have a talk about what really works well.
What I am going to say is that your printer settings will be stored locally. So they will, again, remain tied into all your workstation preferences.
Is that something they should work with their IT as well?
I would work with IT.
Sure.
I would recommend doing that. And we do have some people in the consortium who've already produced some templates and things like that, so those are available.
Okay. I think that answered everything so far.
Okay. And again, if I give you what sounds like a vague answer, it's because I just don't want to tell you wrong. And I'd rather say I don't know than give you a wrong answer. Okay. So let's take a look at buckets. Again, buckets are still on the home screen. They're also under the cataloging menu. So, and these have really not changed. They are the buckets we know and love. You can create them the same way, you can share them the same way. I have created a merging bucket, which has a lot more in it than I remembered. And I think I have already merged a bunch of these items. Let's see. And I know we've had some people remark here that the merging, comparing the two screens is not as easy as it used to be. I agree. I think that the actions and merge selected records, those two Monty Python ones I put in last night. Okay, here's what we've got. They're stacked on top of each other. And all of us who catalog and who merge items, we know it would be better if they were next to each other so that we could compare to field 245, compare the 650s. It's weird. I hope it will be changed. To me, this is one of those things the cataloger didn't set up when they were making it. So I am just going to quickly skim and choose this as the lead record, it may not be the best one. But you'll notice when you do that, when you choose the lead record, you do get them lined up next to each other in the way we're more accustomed to. And I see that probably I should have chosen this other record. So you can still edit here if you want to make any changes, or if, like me, you're saying I probably should have chosen the other record, you can cancel, go back, merge selected records, and use the other record as the lead record this time. Compare them as you always would have before. Choose the strongest record and merge. So then it will take us out of that bucket into the mark record itself. So any questions on just the record buckets, or does that look pretty familiar?
So far, there are no questions.
Okay. Back to cataloging menu. We're going to look at copy buckets. Okay, I set one up last night for a demonstration, and it's just called Back to School Display. Couple things here. We are used to being able to share buckets with each other within a system. And you can find the bucket number either at the very end of the URL up here or the bucket number right here. So if your children's librarian sends you a list of copies they have made, a copy bucket, and says, could you please change the status of all of these to checked out to the local elementary school, you can do that. It's going to be the same as ever. So I added these copies to the back to school display last night. You can deal with just 2 of them, or you can deal with everything in the bucket. Actions. You can edit them. You could delete all of them. If all of these got destroyed while they were on display, you could delete them. Print labels if you need to change all of them. I'm going to edit them. And again, we have yet another window pop open here. And they all, as you see, come over into working copies again. I would like to change their shelving location to the display area since there are back to school ones. And let's see, we won't have a price on these since they're all the same. I'm going to take them off age-based hold protection. And then, because that's the only change I want to make, I'm going to just save and exit. And they have all been, can refresh, they have all been changed to go to display area, as you see here. And that was, again, using the refresh button, as somebody pointed out, that you could do that within Chrome. That sound good?
Yeah, couple questions. Can buckets be shared with other systems in SELens or just locally?
They can be shared within other systems in SELens, yes.
Okay, and it's just using that. How would you find a bucket?
You would need to send this number to whoever you want to get it. So you would go to shared bucket is where you find a shared one.
Can you click on shared bucket?
Yeah, I'm going to just pretend this bucket is a shared bucket and use the number.
Sure.
And I will go to shared bucket.
Oh, perfect.
The bucket, I'm using that number, put it in there, load bucket, and there we have it.
Perfect.
And up here you will have who it was created by. So, you know, you won't be working on a shared bucket and saying, where did this come from again? You'll know. Just got my ID up there, or whoever sent it to you.
And for the items that are in the bucket, can you apply a template
Yes.
in the edit? Great.
We can go back, select all of those actions, edit selected copies, and
Perfect.
template will work just the same. Okay, anything else there?
We find items that need to be moved to other records because they were merged improperly. Would this work for that?
Yes, we can do that. I'm just going to close out some of my mini windows here. All right. Let's go to search the catalog, and I am going to use search for a book I have right here beside me by barcode. And we're going to have to use some imagination for this one, for this example. Okay. I'm going to go to Holdings View and change it back to my library. Okay, the owning library is the state library. So I will just check that volume. Actions. I want to mark this as a transfer destination, as in this is where I want the book to end up. And let's open a new window. I'm just going to open a new tab and go to Evergreen Search. And because I'm logged in already, I don't have to re-log in or anything like that. And I'm going to search for another book I have here. And this does require, that's interesting. I need to check on that. This does require some imagination because I'm going to put completely incorrect items on the same record. Just pretend they're different formats. Okay, there we go. Back to Holdings View. And I want to move this one over to the other record. So I am going to go to, going to transfer, and I want to transfer, I could either do the volumes or the items to previously marked destination. If I were just doing the items, it would be just this one or just this one. But say everything needs to go over to that other record. I will just check it all. Actions, transfer to previously marked destination. See, everything just cleared out of this record. Go back over, and this is the original book. Refresh. And I have moved all those other items over to this record. That example was a little bit of a mock-up. I hope it made sense. Could somebody give me a yay or nay?
One question was, so to move an item from one to another, it requires going out of the system to get back in the system. I think that's really just basically when you open a tab, you have to start thinking of it as a web page rather than getting out of the system.
Yes, I did not leave the system at any point during that. What I just did was open another tab. And so instead of opening a tab within the Evergreen software we've been using, I just opened another tab within Chrome. But as far as Chrome knows, I'm an Evergreen. Chrome didn't think of it as leaving the system.
And
And this is one thing you could do is just have 2 windows of Chrome open at all times, maybe one for your regular web browsing and one that's just exclusively Evergreen. So that might help you keep in the mindset of, I'm staying in Evergreen, but that's just a suggestion. That is what I've been doing, just for the record. I have my 20 tabs of authorities checking and the bibliographic formats and standards open up in one window of Chrome. And then I have the one you're seeing here, which is Evergreen only.
Please demonstrate. Okay, I didn't see how you indicated the transfer destination. Could you just point that out again?
Yeah, sure. Transfer destination, right?
Yes.
Okay. I checked. Well, let me go back. Okay. So I'm on the item I want to put them on. I went to Holdings View. I'm here in my library. I checked this. And then I went to Actions. Scroll down. This is under Mark in this kind of long menu. M-A-R-K, Mark. And Library Volume is Transfer Destination.
And I think it's confusing because you go to the end result first. I think in most brains it would make sense to do it the other way.
It would. It would. We'll just have to.
It works. We'll work it out.
And we'll get used to it. Our brains will automatically flip, and then a year from now we won't remember doing it any other way. Just while we're right here, this is also where you can mark an item as damaged or missing. It's under the same menu, and to me, as we were saying, it doesn't make a lot of sense that the mark transfer destination is right here with missing and damaged, but there you go. Those don't all go together to me.
One person asked. Oh, and there's delete. Very important.
Yeah, delete is there too. You can delete volumes and copies, take things out there.
Please demonstrate copying items from one bucket to another.
Okay, so we are talking about moving
bucket
items. Copies to a new bucket.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Copies, I'm going to copy buckets. Going back to my back to school display bucket. And I want to take these two, go to Actions. See, I can remove them from the bucket if I'd like to. You can also transfer copies to a marked volume from here, which is kind of a different way of doing what we were just talking about. So that is good to know. Okay, so that is not working the way I remembered it working.
It was a good question.
Excuse me. It is a good question. Let me get back to you on that one too, because I am afraid once again of screwing up.
Okay. We'll put that out on the listserv too.
I will look and make sure about that one.
And the only other question that we have in the queue right now is going to the item. I apologize. The item status screen, and does it work as it did before?
Okay. If you right click on this, you get or any copy anywhere, you can edit selected copies. And I understand you're asking about item status specifically, but this is the quick way to get to just editing an item. I am not sure the item status, as you see, is not up here anymore in the way we're used to it being. What would you want to do in item status that you could not do from the screen?
I'm waiting for them to answer. One thing I do is I have a list of new items, and sometimes I quickly go through to see where they are in a shelving location, because I'll just have basically my report doesn't have the right info. I need to make a new report, but change volume, put in a bucket, whatever we normally did.
Okay.
To see how long an item has been lost. That's a good one. I'm in item status a lot. You can see who checked it out last, when it was checked out. A lot of circ stuff.
I hate to do it to you, but I'm going to have to check on that one too.
Sure.
As you see, it's kind of not where we're used to seeing it. Let me check one thing. My goodness, I have a lot of windows open. You can that's not working the way I expected it to either, to be truthful.
Can you go under circ? Just look at our drop-down menu under circ. Circulation.
Item status here.
Yeah, click on that.
So this
I think this is more what they're looking for, and whether this is similar to what we're used to. Oh, that sounds familiar.
The sound sounds familiar. Okay, so yes.
So let's.
Here we go.
Can you click under actions?
Yes. That list looks very familiar to me.
Yeah. And I suspect a lot of people are in this screen a lot.
So does this, I just quickly scanned to in there, but just a reminder that you're only working on changing the things you have checked. So if I don't have anything checked, I'm not changing anything in item status. To check everything, do this checkbox right up here, and that will make your changes that you might need to make, or whatever you need to do.
If you do edit items from here, is that a batch edit?
Yes.
Great. Let's see. In the old item status list, I compare status and call numbers. I can't imagine working without that list. We use it when we batch import from a vendor to make immediate edits. Using that choose file.
Not right. Yeah. You're going to want to use that file up there. And I don't have a file ready to go to demonstrate that, but it should work in the way you're used to.
Okay.
Is that clear item status questions for everybody?
I think so. Another question we had is, will there be a free day for any libraries to get on the test server before the change, or are we still on the regular schedule? And what is the downtime for the changeover?
We're still on the regular schedule right now, and the reason for that is not overloading the test server. If too many people get on at once, we'll bring it down. And catalogers use the most memory of anybody who's using it. We use more than circ. We use more than anybody else because we do the hardest work, as we all know.
Does everybody still have time to be on the test server before the go live date? I can't remember.
You should.
Okay.
You should, because I'll address that question about the dates and times. The go live date is Wednesday, the 26th. That's a little bit confusing because on Wednesday the 26th, we'll be using our current Evergreen all day. At 9 p.m. on Wednesday the 26th, everything will go down. The staff client will not be available. The OPAC won't be available. So any of you who work circ or know somebody on the circulation desk might want to warn your patrons that at 9 p.m. that night they're not going to be able to search the catalog. And over that night, that's when the changeover will take place. So when we come in the morning of Thursday the 27th, that's when the webinar should go live. So that is a way of saying that we've got a Wednesday to Wednesday stretch. Everybody should have an opportunity to get on the test server again before then, because everybody will have their day in between then and now.
Will anything change about importing records from Z3950 or Bookware or OCLC?
Not really, but thank you for leading me to my next topic.
Yay! And 2 people asked the exact same question. Definitely where we were next.
Great minds, right, everybody? Okay. If you go to cataloging, the drop down is import record from Z3950. One thing that looks a little, you see there's nothing under the query box, and that's because I don't have anything checked over here. One thing I advise everybody to do always, always, always is to check local catalog. And that is to make sure that we don't already have whatever the item is in our Evergreen. So that's just like a best practices thing. I use OCLC so I can check OCLC. If you are an OCLC user, type your credentials in the same way you always have. And if, say, New York Public is your favorite, San Francisco Public, University of South Carolina, just check whichever ones you want to use. If you want to save them as default, you can do that if you check the same ones regularly. And then just as always, we will search an ISBN. Let it think about it. And the only one I got was the Native Evergreen catalog. I'm not sure I have a less obscure book lying around in here. Let's try this one. Okay. Well, we don't seem to be having cooperation with test server right now, but it would normally show the results from other places, and then you would be able to view mark, just straight out import it if that's what you want to do, or edit the import if that's your way. If you were planning to overlay, overlay is the same. So all of that really is just, again, nothing has really changed there.
Is there any
Yes.
there any talk of adding any other Z39 resources? They specifically mentioned Search Ohio.
If that's something that you guys have an interest in, yeah, we can talk about that. Search Ohio, I'm writing it down right now.
Sure.
We can definitely talk about that.
More options, the better.
I agree, as long as we're sure they're quality options. Yes, we can definitely talk about that. Thank you for bringing that up. That's not something we have to talk about only at the time of an upgrade or anything like that. You can bring that up anytime you like. You might remember that a while back we removed a source that wasn't working anymore. And in the same way that we removed one, we can try to target a new one. So I will look into that. Thank you for bringing it up. And if anyone else has any other potential targets they're interested in, just drop me a line. Okay. Under cataloging, where we have mark, batch import and export. I know we have lots of people who use this. I know Amanda uses it a lot. And we have this again, we have the import records, which should really just look familiar. Or bookware and such. Are there any more questions about that, about searching for records from external sources?
Um, one comment that the National Library of Canada gives them problems and they don't ever get results from it. So it's probably just worth us doing some testing on what we have at some point, maybe after the upgrade.
Yeah. Okay. Whoever that was, thank you. All right. That is really everything I had to go through for this tutorial. And we've been here for about an hour and a half, so that's some pretty solid information there. Time spent learning. Do we have any questions as we start to close out?
So you know what the question is they want to know when our real FaceTime face-to-face meeting is going to be.
It will be at least a month after go live. And the reason for that is I want you guys to have a chance to just do your daily workflow. We'll see which questions we can figure out on the listserv, which somebody says, no, I know the answer to that right away, figured it out 5 minutes ago. Some we may have to kick to Equinox because nobody here has an answer. And then once we've got all that sorted out and we're down to the nitty gritty of what's giving you a problem on a day-to-day basis, at least a month afterward, we will have a face-to-face here. Everybody will be able to come up and touch the computer. We'll have books for you guys to work with. We'll have barcodes. You can bring your DVDs from your library and we can just all work together on the computer. Somebody can get up there and say, okay, when I do this, watch my steps, this is what happens. And then somebody, me or somebody else, can get up from the crowd and say, let me show you what I do. Or we can decide that none of us know and we need to look harder for an answer.
We'll bring the coffee. We'll bring the coffee, you bring the problems.
Okay.
Meg might kill me. See, if you wait an entire month, we are running into the November holidays, which does get tough. So, we may want to. We'll be mindful and try to make it when people.
We will be mindful, and what we can also do, what we've done before, and send out a poll ahead of time to make sure we're not choosing a day that only 3 people can be here.
Holiday coffee.
Oh my goodness. Coffee cake? Can I get you guys anything else? Cookies? Muffins?
Yeah, we bring baked goods, you bring, and then we'll work it out. But yes, I think it's really important to have that FaceTime meeting, but we want to make sure that we have.
We want to maximize what we can do in the FaceTime meeting, in the face-to-face meeting, because I know it's a long drive for some of you guys and you're on desk duty and you got to work out your schedule, and you know, we just want to make sure that everybody has time to plan it in advance and they can be here, and you don't drive 2 hours for what turns out to be a 45-minute meeting. Okay?
Chocolate chip cookies were mentioned.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't you send your list of food demands in as well? So food demands, problems, Z3950. Is there anything else? If not, we will close out. And I will follow up on everything that I was unable to answer during this session. Enjoy getting to interact with you, and I hope everybody has a terrific day. Goodbye.